Okay, so to get started with our project, we're going to unpack our kit, and in it you should find one wooden dowel, one shorter cord, which we're going to set aside because we'll need that at the end of the project, and then 6 longer macrame cords. Our first step is to take the first macrame cord and fold it in half, keeping the ends as even as possible. Next, we'll bring the loop to the dowel, place it underneath the dowel, fold it over top, and then we'll pull the cords through the loop. And then we'll make a knot. And then we'll just continue the process by taking the next macrame cord, folding it in half, bringing the loop to the top, putting it underneath, folding the loop over, and then pulling our 2 cords through the loop, and then pulling them till we make a knot. And it should be a loose knot because we'll want to be able to move our cords throughout the project. And we'll just keep continuing the process till all 6 cords are attached to the dowel. Once we finish the process and attached all 6 cords to the dowel, we should be ready for our next step. Okay, and now we're ready for step number 2 to make our square knots. I'll just mention before we get started, if you have some tape handy, it would be helpful to tape down the ends of your dowels. Otherwise, your dowel will roll around on your project surface, so that might be helpful if you have that available. And I've just added a colorful piece of paper to help break up the monotony of the desk and the rope so that you can hopefully see the knots more clear. So the first thing we want to do is to gather our ropes together in groups of 4. So we'll take our ropes 1 through 4 together and make one group here, 5 through 8 together and make one group here, and then 9 through 12 and make one group here. Okay, and now we're ready to start our square knot. So we're going to work with our first group of cords, 1 through 4. We're going to separate cord 1 and cord 4 and leave our 2 and 3 cords in the middle. Those are called our filler cords, and we'll essentially not need to really use those for this process. So the first thing we're going to do is take cord number 1, fold it at an angle so that it looks like a number 4, lay it down on top of cords 2 and 3, and then bring cord number 4 over and lay it on top of cord number 1. Next, we're going to pick up our filler cords 2 and 3, and we're going to take our 4th cord and put it underneath the filler cords and through the loop we just created with cord number 1. We are then going to pull all of our cords together, the top, and we'll make the first half of our square knot. To finish our square knot, we'll do the same process but in reverse. So we will start with our cord number 4. We'll make a reverse number 4 with the cord there. We'll lift up cord number 1 over top of cord number 4. Then we'll pick up our filler cords, take cord number 1, pull it underneath the filler cords and through the loop we created with cord 4, and then again we'll tie our strings taut at the top of the project. Essentially, we'll just keep repeating the process with the other cords. So now we have cords 5 through 8. We'll take cord number 5 and cord number 8, lay those aside, put our middle cords down there. Make a number 4 with cord number 5, fold it over top the filler cords. We're going to pick up cord number 8 over top of cord 5. Then we're going to put it underneath the filler cords and through the loop we created with cord 5 and tie our knot at the top of the project. And to complete, we'll do the same thing in reverse. last but not least, we have our last group. So we'll take chord number 9 and chord number 12, fold chord number 9 at an angle like a number 4 over top of our filler chords. We'll then lift our chord 12 over chord number 9, underneath the filler chords and through the loop we just created. And then we'll pull those taut at the top. And then do the same thing in reverse. Take chord number 12, fold it at an angle like a number 4, reverse, pick up our chord 9, lay it over top, lift our filler chords, and pull chord 9 through the loop we created with chord 12, and then tie our knot. So now we have our 3 square knots, and we are ready to move on to the next step of the project. All right, and now we're ready to tie everything together using an alternating square knot pattern. So the first thing we want to do is pull out rows 1 and 2, since we do not need those chords for this side of the project, as well as the outer chords 11 and 12. And we will now group our chords together in groups of 4. So we'll put these chords together and these chords together, and then we'll essentially just continue the process of creating square knots. So essentially, the higher you go, the tighter your knots will look. You can go lower if you'd like to join them together that way. It's totally up to you how you'd like your project to look. But again, we'll just be doing the same process of connecting the ropes using the square knot pattern. So we will move our 4th chord out of the way here, since we'll need to flip that back down. These are our filler rows right here. We'll create the number 4 pattern, lay it over top, bring our 4th chord over, pull it underneath, and then tie our knot to make the first half of our square knot. And then again, we will make our reverse number 4, bring our new chord number 1 over, pull up our middle chords, and then tie our knots together to join them. And we'll again just keep continuing the process. Okay, so now we're ready to make row 3. We've got row 1 and 2 here. To make row 3, again, same thing, square knot pattern. We'll loop those chords 1 and 2 and 11 and 12 back in, and we'll go back to our original groupings of rows 1 through 4. So here we have 1 through 4, and again, we will just start the process again of making our square knots. Okay, and you'll just keep repeating the pattern, alternating between rows 1 and 2 until your project is the desired length or until you run out of rope. And here's a shot of what it could potentially look like. Again, everyone's project will look different depending upon how tight or loose you decide to tie your knots. And then we have that small rope that we had at the beginning. You can tie that at the top if you'd like to create a wall hanging. And also, just so you know, we'll have some loose strands at the end. They'll all be different lengths. If you'd like them to be even, you can just kind of chop those off at the bottom so that everything is even. Otherwise, they will be kind of dangling at a different angle. So however you'd like your project to look is totally up to you. And thanks so much for joining us.